David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, the state of emergency, the powerful and deadly storm sweeping its way east. Blizzard warnings, dangerous ice and damaging winds from Minnesota to New York to Maine. Drivers caught in blinding snow. A massive pileup involving dozens of vehicles on an icy highway. More than 100 million people under wind alerts from Indiana to the Northeast. Winds gusting up to 65 miles per hour. Hundreds of flights canceled. The forecast for New Year's Eve. Ginger Z tracking it all. Also tonight, the deadly midair collision between two helicopters. Chilling images showing one of the choppers falling from the sky. Authorities say the second pilot has died of his injuries. Both pilots now identified. Tonight, high-stakes talks at Mar-a-Lago. President Trump meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu amid new threats from Iran. And the meeting comes as the president says the U.S. knocked out a facility in Venezuela. 24 hours after President Zelensky's meeting with President Trump about ending Russia's war in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin speaking with President Trump, accusing Ukraine of launching a drone attack on one of his state residences. How President Trump is responding. Late today, authorities releasing new video they believe shows a missing college student walking near her home on Christmas Eve, the day she disappeared. The sheriff suggesting she may be in imminent danger. The FBI joining the search. The deadly fire at a home belonging to the parents of one of NASCAR's biggest stars. One person killed, another in the hospital. The CDC warning about a nationwide spike in flu cases. Record numbers reported in New York State. A new milestone for Beyoncé, the fifth musician to ever do it, including Bruce Springsteen, Taylor Swift, and her husband Jay-Z. And the ABC News Primetime Special, the year 2025. The people and stories shaping this year, including the American adventurer doing what had never been done before.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. I'm Wade Johnson in for David tonight. We begin with breaking news. The state of emergency. A punishing winter storm system sweeping its way east. More than 100 million people now under high wind alerts from Indiana to the East Coast. Blizzard conditions, a dangerous ice storm, and winds gusting up to 65 miles per hour from Minnesota to New York to Maine. Drivers facing whiteout conditions in New Buffalo, Michigan. You can see zero visibility on the roads there. Treacherous driving on the highways. Reports of a major pileup on I-75 in Detroit. Waves from Lake Erie crashing onto shore in Hamburg, New York. Up to 2 feet of snow possible there this week. Hundreds of flights canceled today, thousands delayed. Ginger Z standing by with the forecast for New Year's Eve. But first, ABC's Faith Abubey leads us off with the images coming in.
Tonight, punishing winds and blinding snow shutting down interstates, extreme weather of all kinds from a powerful system sweeping the country.
We are at the I-75 50-car pileup.
On Interstate 75 in Detroit, snow squalls causing a massive pileup. Authorities say at least 30 vehicles involved and multiple injuries, but no deaths.
Very slippery and someone hit me.
Iowa State Patrol reporting at least one fatality overnight. Lieutenant Jeremy Schaefer posting this video of a 14-car pileup that shut down Interstate 35 all the way to the Minnesota border. Minneapolis declaring a snow emergency. The incredible winds gusting over 50 miles an hour, churning the Great Lakes, waves crashing ashore along Lake Michigan. And on Lake Erie in Hamburg, New York, these vehicles forced to back away from the seawall. On the warm side of the system, thunderstorms that lit up transformers in Bloomington, Indiana, and spawned multiple confirmed tornadoes. In Pontiac, Illinois, south of Chicago, Candace White's house smashed right after she dropped off her son at band practice.
It's just a wall of gray, and I run back to the bathroom, and I'm like, I should probably be taking cover. There wasn't any alerts, nothing was going on, and then there was just a big boom.
Dense fog shrouding the Northeast and New York City, near zero visibility, adding to the misery at airports. Hundreds more flights canceled today after thousands were scrapped over the holiday. In the waterlogged West, tonight authorities are investigating whether a massive pipeline leak that shut down Interstate 5 over the weekend was caused by shifting ground from days of rain that have plagued the region. And Whit, here in New York City, temperatures are plummeting with winds gusting up to 50 miles per hour. Dangerous conditions expected in the Northeast again tonight and tomorrow morning. Whit.
Yes, we've still got a ways to go here, Faith. Thanks. Let's get right to ABC's chief meteorologist, Ginger Z. And Ginger, those multiple weather threats picking up tonight.
Yes, and wind is going to be the thing that widespread everybody notices, Whit. We've seen wind gusts of close to 60 miles per hour from Cleveland to Baltimore already. And you can see it comes along with snow in many places where the lake effect snow machine has been turned on and is going to crank all week. So let's talk about those wind advisories. This is just the start. I'd call this breezy compared to what we'll see tonight through tomorrow morning in the Northeast. Those wind advisories are for gusts up to 50 miles per hour. They include Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Jersey, and everybody you see there in brown. Now, on top of that, like I said, we're going to see more where that came from as we go through the day tomorrow. Some of those gusts are upwards of 36 miles per hour there in Pittsfield. And you see how the lake effect snow takes over and doesn't stop for much of this week. Between Erie and Buffalo along I-90, it's going to be tough to travel, especially when you have the wind mixing with the snow. Between Syracuse and Watertown, another spot that could see the 1 to 2 feet. And a quick look at New Year's Eve as that ball drops in New York City, temperature in the mid-20s, even a flurry or two mixing in with the confetti. You want warmth, you've got to go west, and then the wet weather returning for a big pattern shift for the West Coast. Whit.
Ginger Z, we appreciate it as always. We move on now to the deadly midair collision involving 2 helicopters over southern New Jersey. One pilot killed at the scene. Authorities say the second pilot died of his injuries at the hospital. Both have now been identified. Witnesses say they may have been flying too close to each other when they collided. Here's ABC's Rhiannon Ally.
Tonight, the FAA and NTSB investigating a deadly midair collision between 2 helicopters southeast of Philadelphia. Each aircraft had just taken off from the Hamilton Municipal Airport in New Jersey late Sunday morning. Diana Clough saw it happen.
I say to myself, my God, I hope they're just flying too close. I hope they don't clip each other. And the minute I said it to myself, the impact occurred.
A witness capturing one of the aircraft falling from the sky. One of the helicopters erupting in flames. People living nearby racing to the scene to help. Caitlin Collins comforting one of the pilots until first responders arrived.
We could see there was a man in there. He was conscious and breathing. And the only thing I could think to do was just hold his hand and talk to him.
Tragically, that man, 65-year-old Kenneth Kirsch, as well as the other pilot, 71-year-old Michael Greenberg, did not survive. The pair had just eaten at Sal Filipino's restaurant.
It's a little bit of disbelief. It's is that really happening? They were just at our cafe having breakfast.
The debris field some 100 yards long. Thankfully, people on the ground were not hurt.
It could have gone a lot worse, and there could have been a lot more loss of life.
With the NTSB says they plan to remove the helicopters from the site tomorrow, and they expect to release a preliminary report on the crash in about a month. Whit.
Rhiannon Ally for us tonight. Thank you. Now to the high-stakes meeting at Mar-a-Lago. President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu on phase 2 of the ceasefire agreement in Gaza amid new concerns about Iran. The president also pressed about that new attack in Venezuela, saying the U.S. took out a big facility. ABC's senior White House correspondent Selina Wang is in West Palm Beach.
Tonight, standing with Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu, President Trump vowing the rebuilding of Gaza will begin as quickly as we can, but only if Hamas disarms.
They're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm, but if they don't disarm, as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them, and we don't want that.
Israel says it won't withdraw more troops from Gaza until Hamas disarms. Trump pushing back when asked if Netanyahu is stalling.
Israel's lived up to the plan 100%.
The president also amping up his threats to Iran just months after the U.S. bombed 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. Iran's president now saying the country is in a full-scale war with the U.S., Israel, and Europe. Trump today warning the Iranians not to rebuild their nuclear program.
Now I hear that Iran is trying to build up again, and if they are, we're going to have to knock them down. We'll knock them down. We'll knock the hell out of them, but hopefully that's not happening.
Selina Wang joining us now from West Palm Beach. And Selina, the president making news on another front tonight, saying the U.S. has attacked a facility in Venezuela.
Well, Whit, this appears to be the first time that the U.S. has carried out a land strike inside Venezuela after launching dozens of deadly strikes on alleged drug boats. But the president is providing few details, only to say that there was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs. But Whit, the president refused to say whether the military or the CIA were involved in this operation.
Yeah, still more to learn on this. Selina, thanks so much. And the escalating rhetoric with Iran comes as protesters take to the streets in cities across that country. The demonstrations fueled by growing frustration with high inflation and the collapse of the national currency. Iran's embattled regime has also been cracking down on dissidents and arresting key opponents. And all of this unfolding during a busy 24 hours at Mar-a-Lago on the heels of President Trump's meeting with President Zelenskyy about ending the war in Ukraine. Vladimir Putin speaking with the president today, accusing Ukraine of launching a drone attack on one of his state residences. Zelenskyy dismissing the claims as a complete fabrication. And tonight, how President Trump described his call with Putin. Here's ABC's chief international correspondent, James Longman.
President Trump may be impatient for peace in Ukraine, but tonight Russia seems to have other plans. The Kremlin claims that after yesterday's talks in Florida between President Trump and Volodymyr Zelenskyy, Ukraine launched a drone attack on one of Vladimir Putin's official residences. President Trump says he spoke with Putin earlier today.
I learned about it from President Putin today. I was very angry about it.
Ukraine calls the claim typical Russian lies, calculated to undermine productive peace talks, and Moscow has provided no proof.
Don't you have U.S. intelligence services that monitor that region very closely? Is there any evidence?
Well, it came out. Well, we'll find out. I mean, you're saying maybe the attack didn't take place. It's possible too, I guess. But President Putin told me this morning it did.
And so far, Russian attacks on Ukraine have shown no signs of slowing down. But yesterday, President Trump struck a positive tone about a deal.
We could be very close. There are one or two very thorny issues, very tough issues. But I think we're doing very well. We made a lot of progress today.
Zelenskyy says the U.S. has now agreed to 15 years of security guarantees.
20-point peace plan, 90% agreed, and U.S.-Ukraine security guarantees, 100% agreed.
But the main sticking point remains the eastern Donbass, which Putin wants to seize in its entirety.
Mr. President, have you agreed on the so-called free trade zone on Donbass?
The word agreed is too strong. I would say not agreed, but we're getting closer to an agreement on that, and that's a big issue.
And we're in Ukraine tonight. They are bracing for more attacks. Every New Year's Eve of this nearly 4-year war, Russia has hit multiple cities across the country. Whit.
James Longman, our thanks to you tonight. Back here in the U.S., the desperate search for a missing 19-year-old college student near San Antonio, Texas. Late today, authorities releasing new video they believe shows her walking near her home the day she disappeared on Christmas Eve. The FBI now joining in the search. Here's ABC's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, authorities unveiling new video they believe shows missing Texas woman Camila Mendoza Olmos. The dash cam footage shows a woman matching Olmos' description and clothing walking a few blocks from her home the morning of Christmas Eve, the last day she was seen.
If this is indeed her, we've got what we believe to be a good direction of flight.
Until now, law enforcement only had surveillance video showing the 19-year-old outside her house Christmas Eve morning, rummaging through her car, then walking out of sight, and she did not have her phone. The family says she'd often take a morning walk. They're devastated she hasn't returned.
I miss her. Daddy's waiting for her at home.
The San Antonio community has spent 5 days fanning out across the area hoping to find her.
We've been searching on foot like within a 3-mile radius. We don't have a single clue.
Tonight, the search area has crossed the border. Mexican officials releasing this missing persons report. The sheriff has said they believe Olmos could be in imminent danger, but there's so far very little evidence as to what happened.
We've got to consider all possibilities at this point. Unfortunate for us, we can't start narrowing that down until some evidence takes us to that, and we're not there yet.
And the sheriff says the FBI is helping with digital evidence. They are urging the entire community to review all their surveillance cameras, their dash cams, hoping they can further retrace her path. Whit.
All right, Trevor Ault, thank you for that. News tonight in the international manhunt for a former Canadian Olympic snowboarder turned alleged drug kingpin. Ryan Wedding is on the FBI's top 10 fugitive list. Late today, federal authorities releasing images showing dozens of high-end motorcycles, $40 million worth, recently seized by Mexican authorities. They believe all are owned by Wedding. The FBI seized a rare $13 million Mercedes linked to him last month. When we come back, the warning tonight from the CDC about the spike in flu cases across the country, the deadly fire at the home belonging to the parents of NASCAR superstar Denny Hamlin, what we're learning tonight about who might have been inside that home. A wild crash in Ohio. The homeowner says a split-second decision not to walk her dogs may have saved her life. And Beyoncé reaches a new milestone, joining an elite group of musicians. Next tonight, the deadly fire at the home belonging to the parents of NASCAR superstar Denny Hamlin. At least one person has died. Another suffered life-threatening injuries. Officials have not yet identified the victims. Authorities say 40 to 45% of the home was already burning by the time crews arrived. No word yet on the cause. British boxing heavyweight Anthony Joshua injured in a fatal car crash in Nigeria. 2 others were killed after an SUV slammed into a stationary truck earlier today. Authorities say Joshua was a passenger in the vehicle. He is hospitalized but in stable condition. The Olympian recently beat YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul in a high-profile match in Miami. A frightening scene in an Ohio suburb, a car speeding down the road and then slammed into this home on Christmas morning. The front porch, car, and trash cans destroyed. Thankfully, everyone inside the home was safe. It happened just minutes after the homeowner changed her mind about going outside to walk the dogs, instead staying inside, likely saving her life. When we come back, Beyoncé joins an exclusive club that includes musicians like her husband Jay-Z and Bruce Springsteen, plus the American adventurer doing something we've never seen on Mount Everest. To the index now, flu cases are rising across the country. The CDC is reporting nearly 5 million cases nationwide. New York is experiencing its worst flu outbreak on record, more than 71,000 cases in just 1 week. That's the most ever in a single week. At least 14 other states are reporting high or very high number of flu-like illnesses. Doctors say it's not too late to get a flu shot. Beyoncé is ringing in the new year as a billionaire. That's according to Forbes. It's largely due to her record-breaking Cowboy Carter world tour and brand deals. She's just the 5th musician, including her husband Jay-Z and Taylor Swift, to reach that billionaire milestone. Still ahead, highlighting the remarkable stories of 2025, including the American skier doing something that had never been done before. Finally tonight, the American skiing down Mount Everest, one of the many stories featured in Robin Roberts' primetime special, The Year 2025. Here's Will Reeve.
Impossible is temporary for ski mountaineer Jim Morrison, who climbs up and skis down the tallest mountains in the world.
Where do you think that drive comes from?
I think I have a certain knack for suffering.
He took that suffering to the limit, trying what no one else has ever done before. Ski down the north face of Mount Everest.
As you summited Everest for this attempt, what were you carrying with you mentally and emotionally, in addition to whatever gear you might have had?
We had worked on this for so long, and in the process of trying to get there, I lost my partner, my climbing partner, and my life partner, Hillary Nelson.
Nelson died in an avalanche while on a ski mountaineering expedition with Morrison in the Himalayas 3 years ago.
When I got to the summit, I was just overwhelmed with emotion about her and the drive that it took to see this project through.
Was there any point where you thought about giving up?
There were lots of times that I wanted to quit. The entire time I was set up in what we call the no-fall zone. There was no room for error. I got to the bottom, I collapsed, I cried.
What have you learned about yourself in your lifelong journey?
Even if it's virtually unobtainable, if you keep trying and keep after that goal, you can do almost anything.
And our thanks to Will Reeve for that. You can watch Robin Roberts' primetime special, The Year 2025, tonight at 8 Eastern, right here on ABC. I'm Whit Johnson in New York. Have a great night.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row.